accused you of falling for Putin's propaganda when he invaded Ukraine, and I called Putin the new Hitler. You said you're such a toddler, Piers. That's much of your characterization of me in some of those mean tweets, but that's fine. We can move on because there's a much more interesting story, I think, involving you, which has played out in the last few months, which everybody knows about. So let's just talk about that. Why did
So, guys, we already know what this is about. This is Candace Owens. You know, this has been like the hottest topic, like all for the since the years began. You could basically say we felt the tension before Candace left the Daily Wire. After October 7th, Candace started to speak a certain way, even though she tried to be candid a little bit about her. Not candid. She tried to be a little more like neutral about her feelings, but then after a while she just started to talk about how things were looking for her in Gaza and all of that, so it caused a problem. And then there was this whole discussion about Christ is King was an issue. So then all of a sudden Candace was fired. This is the fast pace recap of how this mess has been going, how it went, and how it's been going. And we know Candace has her new show now where she's addressing it all. She's addressing everything and addressing other things, talking about the things she wants to talk about. Of course, Piers Morgan had her on, and we already know where this next question is going. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Did you leave the Daily Wire?
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about the specific reasons that I left the Daily Wire, but what I can do is respond to whatever reasons were given to the public. And obviously, no sooner did we agree to leave than Andrew Klavan of the Daily Wire did an entire episode stating that the reasons that I was leaving was because I was anti-Semitic and I was engaging in a type of anti-Semitism that was hard to pin down. And that is why in my first episode of launching my independent podcast, I hit back pretty hard at him because I think it's pretty despicable, first and foremost, as a colleague who I had a great relationship with, to have engaged in that, knowing that I was not at liberty to say anything. I thought it was a very underhanded, disgusting tactic, and I responded in force.
I want to play you what Ben Shapiro told me when I asked him about this on Uncensored.
Piers Morgan is funny because all he wants the clicks, okay? He just asked the next question, the next question, the next question. And you know what? Fine. I'm not even mad at him. I'm not, because, obviously people want to hear the answers, right? They probably don't want to hear Piers go off and give his 1-2 about it. He's like, yo, look, next question, and next question again.
One of the consequences of this war has been a lot of very high passions on both sides, a lot of angry disagreements. You and your company have been at the center of a very high-profile one at the moment with Candace Owens, who's now left Daily Wire. Was she fired, or did she leave of her own volition?
I'm not going to speak to this topic, Piers.
That smile is just so mischievous, right? It really is mischievous, right? And of course, he's not going to speak to this topic. And she's right. Andrew Klavan did come out and started saying a bunch of stuff about her when she's been silenced. That's the other part of it that I have not discussed yet, is that, she's been silenced and she can't really respond to everything. This is crazy. Like, these contracts are absolutely insane.
At all.
At all. The only thing I will say is what I've said all along with regard to Candace or with regard to any of our other hosts. I am not in hiring and firing position with the Daily Wire. I'm a co-founder of the Daily Wire. I'm a co-owner of the Daily Wire. I'm not actually in management. And as far as the free speech situation, what I will say is that no company has the obligation to literally pay anyone. The Daily Wire is a publisher. It is not a platform.
But that's not what you built your platform on. Right? You built it on freedom of speech and all of this, and we don't cancel people. I mean, I think I've even shared a clip of Ben saying like it's crazy to just cancel people because they don't agree with you. And like you did that. Not only did you do that, you silenced her. Like, feel how you want about the situations or whatever, right? You don't have to take Candace's position on the geopolitical situation that's going on. You don't have to, right? But just in merit alone. These are the conservative pundits, the mainstream conservative platforms that are saying we're fighting for conservatism, and then you do exactly the thing that you complained about the left doing. That's fine. It's your business. You can go ahead and do whatever you want to do. It is what it is. But don't pretend to be something that you're not. That's the part that I don't like. You just don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. That's all.
Do you agree with that, Candace?
Agree with which part?
Well, okay, any of it.
Well, I think that it's interesting, and I'd love to sit down with and debate Ben Shapiro on a number of topics, particularly cancel culture, because I know that he's made some comments in the past that he believes that publishers, platforms should allow people to have different ideas. And so those particular comments to me sound in contrast to what he has said in the past, but I can't speak on behalf of him, obviously. I personally believe that media companies are healthier when you allow people to have different opinions and allow people to debate those opinions. Personally, I love to see a debate between two people. And so I can only tell you what my perspective is and can't really speak for him.
I mean,
She's right, because I would have liked to have seen that debate too. You know, Ben Shapiro debates college kids, which is fine, whatever, it works for him, he does it. I'd love to see him debate Candace or debate like Norman Finkelstein or something, but he's not going to do that, right? It always gets shut down for some reason. So, okay. Yeah, I think he debated Destiny, but was it even really a debate? I'm not sure. I can't remember. But like, it's the same old thing. And that's what it's been with these conservative pundits for like the last 3 years at least. It's just been the same old thing.
he made the point at the end there that any company, any private company, when it comes to free speech, is not compelled to pay people to work for them. I mean, would you accept that as a principle?
Well, what I would say again is that it just kind of runs into what is wrong. I guess the question you could ask is, what is wrong if CNN fires somebody for having a different opinion? What then is wrong if Fox News fires somebody for having a different opinion? Your answer would have to be that it's not wrong and that companies are at will to curate whatever belief system that they want and to not allow free speech. So, you know.
Out of interest, is it true that you signed an NDA and that's why you can't really talk about this in detail?
I cannot speak in detail about any of that stuff.
You can't even confirm whether you've had an NDA?
I am not free to speak about any topic pertaining to contracts signed or not signed. And so.
You see, this is where it gets interesting for me, because you referenced Andrew Klavan from the Daily Wire. I want to play a part of what he said, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And like, you see, he keeps asking, and she's like, you're like putting me in a position here. But okay, like, let's look.
The Daily Wire parted ways with Candace Owens, and part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that it was kind of hard to pin down. So I was trying to show where these things happen.
So I'm bemused because I've been involved in a lot of contracts in my time. I've been an employer, I've been an employee, and so on. I don't understand why somebody from the Daily Wire can be so explicit about the reasons you left, and yet you are not able to be as explicit to defend yourself or to counter what they're saying.
Amen, Piers. Amen. I think that is probably a question that was on a lot of people's minds. And, you know, what can I say other than what was it that Kanye was saying about contracts? And, you know, I think it is, even if you believe that it is valid for that to happen, I think it is immoral to allow someone to attack someone and to not allow them to defend their name. And so for me, Andrew actually rose to the level of defamation when he started claiming that I had actually said things that I had never said. I mean, he flagrantly lies, and I showed that on my platform when he pretended that I did an episode suggesting that Adolf Hitler burning books was a good thing. I wasn't even speaking about Adolf Hitler. It's a nonsense to think that I would do that on my platform.
And she did go on her show, and she did like prove that he was lying. Like, he went on did this media press tour all of a sudden to decide to like lie about a lot of the stuff that happened with Candace, and puts me in a position where now I have to like defend her, because like, why are you lying? And you know, she can't come fully back at you. You know what I mean? Like, her hands are kind of tied behind her back. These kind of tactics are they're very sleazy. Yeah, that's the best word for it. They're very sleazy. So what is this? You know, again, conservatives, these mainstream conservatives, they'll say the left, the left, the left. But it's like, bro, I'm starting to wonder if y'all not even more sleazier than the left. At least we know they're, like saying that men can be women and women can be men. Like they don't hide certain things. They don't hide their behaviors. But you're here like dead serious, like lying on this girl. You know her, and we're supposed to be somehow better than the left by acting like that. Okay.
Platform. And it's a trick also. It's meant to make people feel emotional, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's supporting Adolf Hitler. And I thought it was nasty business. I thought it was extremely nasty business. And, for me, Piers, it's important for me to state, my name means a lot to me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm, one of 12 children, in a segregated South, Robert Owens Sr. And for him to have worked the way that he worked and to have instilled the Christian values in me that he instilled in me growing up, the idea that I would allow someone to so flagrantly throw dirt on his name, it was never going to fly.
Did you ever say or do anything which to a Jewish ear could be construed as anti-Semitic?
What does that even mean? Right? What is that question? Like, just say it. Have you ever said anything that a Jewish person would feel is anti-Semitic to a Jewish ear and all this? Like, why are people so afraid to talk?
Well, let's be clear about all of these topics, whether we're talking about racism, sexism, anti-Semitism. Everything can be construed to an ear when you're talking about a subjective ear that I believe that this is racist. I mean, I could say, hey, Piers, you even asking me questions. And to me, it feels racist, right? A feeling and a fact are two different things. So what someone construes something is meaningless. Factually speaking, I have never said anything that is anti-Semitic. And had I have said something that was anti-Semitic, Andrew Klavan would have simply showed the clip.
Right. A lot of attention has been focused on you constantly referencing Christ is King. Many people believing that although those words in themselves, if you're a Christian, as you are, would not be offensive, that
guys, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. I did forget to say that in the beginning, but yeah, please, it definitely helps me out a lot, and I appreciate everybody who is watching. I want to hear this. This part, I'm going to let it play out because I kind of want to hear, where is this getting ready to go?
To Jewish people, when they're being whipped up on social media as they were at the time by people who are genuine white supremacists and pretty brazen anti-Semites, that being smart as you are, you would have known that to deliberately use that phrase repeatedly in that time, in that climate, was a deliberate act of provocation to people like Ben Shapiro, who obviously are extremely high-profile Jewish people. Do you accept
I'm
that?
sorry, which time frame are you talking about when you say at that time?
Well, since the start of the Israel-Hamas war.
Yeah, no. So that phrase, if you're talking about when it began to be a scandal, because I think everyone was quite confused when there was suddenly this narrative that it could be construed as anti-Semitic, which is why it required so much explaining by people of when it became anti-Semitic. I posted a standalone Bible verse, this is just a pure fact, calling for peace. And at the end of the verse, I ended it and said, Christ is King, last November. Andrew Klavan references that. The reason why this even became a scandal is because of Andrew Klavan. Andrew Klavan did an episode called Because Christ is Really King. And then he accused me wrongly of spitting that phrase at a Jew. That simply never happened, as I showed in my first episode back. It was just made that up out of thin air. I posted a standalone Bible verse and I wrote at the end of it, Christ is King. And then a Jew responded to me telling me to quit my job. So what happens sometimes is then time passes and people try to rewrite history, but we're not going to do revisionist history here. I tweeted Christ is King appropriately following a Bible verse when when I was 38 weeks pregnant. And I stand.
So we can even stop there because I remember everything that happened because I covered it on this channel. Of course, I'm always covering something. So it's fun because then I have like a video document file of like, no, this is when this happened. So what happened was Ben Shapiro went on a stage at some party, whatever. And he starts calling Candace, saying she had full sophistication and that, he found her morally, I think, reprehensible or something like that, whatever. And he was being taped. And it's like, well, when you speak in terms like this, somebody's going to leak the footage. Okay. So I remember that morning clear because I was on my way to work and it popped up. I had to hurry up and make the video. Anyway, Candace ends up responding and like she put out a verse and then she put like Christ is King. And then he did tell her like, well, if you don't want money to be a master, you could quit the Daily Wire. She can't really fully say his name all the time. So she, uses different references or whatever. Okay. The gag order, right? Because I think she can't talk about what happened with them in the past tense of like with the job, but like she can say if Ben Shapiro wants to debate me, then he can debate me. Like she can say things like that. Anyway, I remember seeing that, and she said Christ is King, and then all of a sudden, all these people started coming out and be like, "Oh no, that's anti-Semitic. That's anti-Semitic," and it was like, no. Chick was mad. Chick was still trying to react like a Christian and just put a verse because that's what Christians do. It is. I know I do it when I'm mad. I just like, it's like online. I don't necessarily do it all the time. I don't dress certain things online, but that is a go-to because your real self, like if you answer to yourself and your reactions, how you would answer yourself, right? You'll end up using curse words and things like you don't want to represent yourself like that, and you also certainly don't want to represent Christ like that. Like if you really want to be a vessel for God, right? Okay, so you go to a verse, you're like, let me just drop this verse off and just keep it moving, right? And she put Christ is King. All of a sudden, everybody started saying it was anti-Semitic, and that's when I was like, okay, enough is enough. And I remember tweeting, I was like, we're not even going to start going there with some Christ is King is anti-Semitic. I don't care when it's said, who said it, how they said it. Those 3 words can only do good, period. That's it. Yes. Now, obviously, people are going to feel a subjective feeling, but it's gotten now to a point where it's almost being enshrined in this hate speech, right? And so why? How is that not like a problem? I think it's wrong that, like, why is it that it could even be said that it is anti-Semitic, right? Because now that offends me as a Christian, right? Although I don't want words like Christians, anti-Christian. I don't want words like that because Christians know that they're going to be persecuted, so it's okay, right? We expect it. It's okay. But what is this? I have to make sure I can use those 3 words at the appropriate time. Let me go ask Jewish people, are they okay with me using those words? And most Jewish people don't even care, right? In real life, most Jewish people don't care. It was just something because she is, high profile and everything that was going on. And the Andrew Clavin needed, the numbers for his show. And he started talking about it because now people are talking about Andrew Clavin a little bit. Like I used to watch Andrew Clavin. I started watching him a while ago, probably because I started making videos maybe, and then you don't have time to like watch a bunch of stuff. But anyway, but come back to the point. And I like a lot of stuff he says, but when he reacted like that too, as a Christian, and he even says that Ben Shapiro doesn't need Jesus Christ because, Ben Shapiro would be better off staying Jewish for Jewish people. You effectively take Ben Shapiro as being higher than Christ because as a Christian, again, Christ comes before everything else. There's never a time where you say, but that person doesn't need Christ. This is just Christian belief. I'm not going to make disclaimers either because nobody else does that with their religion. So why should I do it with mine? Right. So anyway, so it turned into this whole thing and it's still this big mess, but we can end off with saying this situation that has happened has definitely stripped everybody. Like we are seeing something happening right now where people are showing who they are and where their real allegiance lies. Like, are you really America first? Are you, do you really believe in the First Amendment? Like, are you a free speech absolutist? And I'm starting to find out that a lot of people aren't, I am. And I mean that because I've asked myself the hard questions. I as long as nobody's hurting kids, I'm not free speech absolutist for hurting kids. Obviously, you're not going to become a danger to yourself and others with your free speech. But yeah, like, come on, let's keep it real. Like, what, talking trash, making certain kind of jokes and things or whatever. Okay, yeah. But anyway, this situation has shown a lot, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but we are going to keep it locked because this isn't over. And I know it's not over, but we're here for it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.